Some tough news to start the new year for scores of auto workers. General Motors says it's laying off more than 1,100 workers at its Factory Zero location in Hamtramck. And the UAW says those layoffs are permanent. Let's get live to Fox News' Dave Kinchin outside the impacted factory with the latest. And Dave, this is sad news. A lot of people's lives impacted.
Yeah, Roop, good evening. It really is a very tough way to start the new year. UAW Local 22 represents these workers. They say with these layoffs, the union membership is now cut to about half. Let's go to video right now. GM had scheduled these cuts a few weeks ago. The automaker says it is making the move to, quote, due to production schedule adjustment required to adapt to slower near-term EV adoption. In other words, changes in EV demand. There's been a lot of fluctuation there as of late. Now, of the 1,140 hourly workers being cut, most work in assembly, but some handle quality and materials. The layoffs will essentially reduce production to one shift. Factory Zero is a cornerstone of GM's all-electric strategy, and it's where they make the GMC Hummer EV, the Chevy Silverado EV, among other products.
General Motors laying off 1,100 employees at their Factory Zero and the Detroit Hamtramck EV assembly plants, both in Michigan. 1,100 people out of a job. I think everybody should have saw this, though, when they saw, bringing back the gas-powered vehicles. There's no heavy focus on electric vehicles anymore. It will still be a part of these, General Motors, Ford, but it's not going to be their main focus. Just like Ford, they got rid of $19.5 billion because that was going towards their EV projects. EVs aren't in. EVs aren't sustainable. EVs had a good run because they had a lot of law behind it to get rid of the gas-powered cars. But as you see, there's a lot of people looking at it and saying that, a lot of people don't want EV cars. People got EV cars now or before, it's because they were cheaper. But now, these EV cars are more expensive or just as expensive as a gas-powered car. That's the thing I didn't understand with EVs, especially when General Motors, Ford, Porsche, all these other, actual car companies got into it. They were getting into it to make money. Different from Tesla. Tesla does not care about the price of the cars like that. They care about the data that the car gets. See, that's where General Motors, all these other people went wrong, was they were trying to make a lot of money off of the EV cars. Their focus was the money of the car, not the data or the tech. So this is what happens. These companies ran into this industry as far as the EV and was trying to corner the market and invested a lot of money. But then now it's even now. So now the consumer can choose EV or gas. There's no special incentives now for electric vehicles anymore. Before there was $7,500 credit, this, that. In California, you were able to use it and drive in the carpool lane. That's all gone. So now these factories these companies like a GM, a Ford are looking at the factories that's making them and said, we don't need them anymore. They're not heavily desired. These, what are they? I think GM makes the Hummer. The Hummer's like, what, 100K, 120K? That's not normal money. This is the reason why Tesla will always win, especially in the United States, in the EV markets, because they're cheaper. They're not expensive. Somebody can get a, little one for 30 grand, 35. GM wasn't doing stuff like that, right? Ford wasn't doing things like that. Porsche damn sure wasn't doing like that. Audi wasn't doing things like that. These electric vehicles were like luxury vehicles. So I think this is a pivot that GM's going to do. We already saw Ford do it, but these EV cars ain't hot like that. Then they're not. What it is like I said with the EV cars, they when they came out with the EV cars, they marketed them as a cheap option. So when Tesla came out, it was actually a cheap option. But then when these big players got into it, it wasn't. It defeated the whole purpose of owning an EV car. When you had an EV car, you were getting it because of the convenience and also because it was cheap. Right? But what's difficult about EV cars, you got to go to a charging station, sit there for maybe about an hour, right? So if I'm going to do that, my car needs to be hella cheap. It needs to be worth me getting these cars. It wasn't. Every time I drive by EV charging station, cars lined up waiting. So it can take you 2-3 hours to get a fresh charge while you're driving throughout the city. Doesn't make any sense. So this is why GM had these layoffs. 1,100 people gone. It hit mostly assembly, quality, and material workers, with the plant now operating one shift instead of two. So they were working around the clock, but now they only do one shift now. This just shows you in business, and this shows you as an employee, when you're working for a company, you still got to be in the know of what's going on in the company and in the industry that you're in. There's a lot of people that were doing these factories for these EV cars, but they weren't paying attention and thinking they could never get laid off. I think as soon as you saw the news when they took all those things off for the EV cars, you should already been looking for another job, because you should already know that they coming after your job because you're not needed anymore. There's no advantage in having an EV plant and making EV cars all the time.
Just to see the looks on our members' faces, knowing that they will be out of work, it kind of hurts, because, they have families to raise, mouths to feed, and now they have to look for employment. A lot of these people left good jobs and searched for better employment at General Motors, at Factory Zero, and unfortunately, that has come to an end for them.
Now, the union is helping the displaced workers with various resources, and GM says, or the UAW says, there is a chance that those workers could find other jobs in the company. Keep in mind, it was just over 2 years ago when the UAW really went to bat trying to secure all of that EV work under their current contract with the Big Three. That was after that historic strike. So we did ask the union tonight on The Edge. You'll hear from the union whether they feel betrayed. They say some members do. You'll hear more about that tonight on The Edge. For now, reporting live, Dave.
Look, being a part of a union is great, but you have to be a part of a union that your job is always essential. Being in a plant just for EVs, it can go up, it can go either way. It's essential to what they're doing, but is it essential to the world? No. See, when you're part of a union where like the police departments or the fire departments, longshoremen, those are jobs that are not because of the companies. The world needs those jobs. The state, the country needs those jobs. So you will always be in demand. You will always be listened to, right? Working for a car manufacturing and you're just doing EVs, you can easily be cut. Shows you that. You're not making their signature car where they have to make a bunch of them because it's so popular. You're working for a major business. You're still working for a business. What comes first in a business? Profits. Moving with the market. So you're part of a union that fought for you for that time. It's because they needed you at that time. But now the company doesn't need you. So what do you think is going to happen? It's just common sense. People see, this is what happens though. When you're working for a company, there's no such thing as emotion. The only thing that matters is money. So this is why I tell people, just because you got a union don't mean you don't need to be in tune on what's going on. Don't mean when you get in the company, you don't just do one thing, you do multiple things in the company so you don't get fired. See, a lot of y'all get too comfortable. That's what it is. You work for a company and thinking, oh, I'll never get fired. They'll never let me go. But you're doing one job. You're not even trying to make yourself valuable to where you don't get fired. I saw a guy, this is the funny part, and I'll tell you this, and before we got here, I saw a guy, I was at Costco, and he was the automotive guy. He had the automotive outfit on, doing brakes, tires. You know Costco, they do the tires. I don't think they do brakes, but like the automotive stuff, they might do oil changes. He had the automotive suit on, dirty, but you can tell boots on. But he over there ringing up groceries. What does that tell you? He's valuable. He can be out there in the automotive, and he inside doing the groceries, checking people out, helping people this, helping people that. He's valuable. And I congratulated him. I said, you doing a smart thing. He was like, what do you mean? I said, you're valuable. And he looked at me like, what do you mean? I said, because you can do multiple jobs. You'll never get fired. You can work in the automotive. You can work inside. You know how to run the register. You know how to do stocking. I've been watching you all throughout here, just me shopping. I seen you do 3 different things, and you got the outfit on. you'll never get fired. That's how you got to be when you're working for these companies. See, a lot of y'all want to work for a company and just do one job. I'm good at this one job. But you're expendable. You have to be a Swiss Army knife in the company. A lot of y'all get fired because you don't want to level up. You just want to stay in this one thing. You want to be an expert in one thing. That's the problem. You just want to work in a plant and just work on installing this one piece. But you don't want to go maybe to accounting and learn a little bit of accounting. You don't want to learn what they learning in the office, learn about design. You just want to stay right here. That's why y'all get fired. That's why you get laid off. 1,100 people laid off. I guarantee they only know how to do that one job. That's what it is, bro.
Kinchin, Fox 2 News.
Yeah, obviously your union is there to protect you. In terms of the UAW and the deal that these workers had, did it not have the contractual protections that were needed to prevent something like this from happening?
Well, there are some protections in there. That's what the union tells us, certainly as it relates to compensating and supporting workers there. There were more protections that they really did want back at that time when that
didn't get it.
strike. First time the UAW went up and struck all Detroit 3 members, though. So at the same time, there's still some sour feelings there, and we'll get into more on that on The Edge.
Your union, that's what I'm saying. Y'all got to pay attention. Y'all paying these dues to these unions, and they're not getting the proper protections to help you when you get laid off. You're not even getting a bag when you get laid off. These unions ain't for y'all. I'm telling y'all. Y'all be thinking these unions has got your best interest, but when you get laid off, they just be like, man, it sucks, man. It sucks. But the union, you got to have stuff in your contract. If I get laid off, do I get 2-3 months pay? What do I get? What happens if they kick me out? Y'all got to smarten up, man. Stop depending on people to fight for y'all. You got to get up in them contracts to read them contracts and be multi-skilled with a company. That's how you stay with companies for years and years. You multi-skilled. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. As always, we'll keep this thing rocking, keep it going. Pay attention to your job, bro. Pay attention to what's going on at your job. Pay attention to the news. The news will tell you everything before it happened to you. I'm out.